just to let us know when we're getting ready to go live at 7 o'clock, and then I'm going to kick us off here.
Angie had me started, so we're live.
Hey, good evening, everybody. My name is Chip Rankin. I'm the superintendent of Minnewaska Schools. I'm starting my 6th year. I'm also a parent of 4 children, 3 that are currently in the middle school, and 1 was a 2022 Laker graduate. Tonight, I just want to set the framework before our moderator, Mr. Ted Hill, comes forward. But I want to begin by saying thank you to our 8 board candidates. This year, the ballot, you saw an example in the paper that came out today. We have 4 board openings. We have 3 4-year positions and 1 2-year position. And so we have 2 candidates running for the 2-year position, and then we have 6 candidates running for the 3 4-year position. So I want to thank all of you for willing to step up and serve on our school board, especially in a very challenging time in public education. Next, I'd like to kind of talk a little bit about the current health of our district in front of every board candidate, and for everybody that's watching virtually or in person. There's some board. Some strategic roadmaps that are on the table, and it's really, this is the ground board work. When you become a board member, you don't get keys to school. You get an email account so people can contact you. You don't get your own personal checking account. It really becomes a lot of obligations, responsibilities to serve the community in our district. Currently, we have 246 employees, 106 of them being certified staff members. We have 5 employee groups, so you have our teachers group, you have the, which are, Minnewaska Teachers Association of Ed, Minnesota. You have the Teamsters that represent our mental health practitioners. You also have ASPE employees, which are our paraprofessional group. And then you have non-certified, and then you have a number of contract employees that you have that work on different statuses. So we also have 6 different employee groups when it comes to benefits and payroll. We operate on about just under $25 million budget, and that is the auditors are just currently here. When I first came here, we had about a 9% family balance. Right now, we're between 14 and 16%, hitting the board target of 14%. The goal, when you look at it, our enrollment is stable. We have 1,269 students that are in K-12 in our building. We are busting the seams in our early childhood over to elementary. And Wynn is a level 4 EBD school in the Starbuck building that currently has 47 students. And so total enrollment in our, for population in Polk County is a little over 1,400 kids. We capture about 96% of them attend Minnewaska schools. I'd say overall going forward, as we look at our strategic roadmap, we've done some consistent work in goal area 1, and this roadmap is not CHIP's roadmap. This was put together in the school year 2017-2018. We brought our district advisory committee that met last Monday night for a couple hours. But this is a grassroots organization bringing teachers, administrators, community members, and board to put together this roadmap. It isn't the way, It's just to provide some targets out there by 2025 to work towards. We have 4 strategic goals that we're working on to provide rigorous, relevant, personalized learning. We developed a scope and sequence for our E14. We maximize technology, so you'll see an expansion of devices and programming down to the 5th grade. That kids have access if they needed to take home, but we have devices all the way down to kindergarten if needed when appropriate. And then we worked on some win time, some intervention, we're working on some clear exploration. Second goal area is effective and efficient, so you'll see a lot of it is we just spent $300,000 on math and science, so we follow the cycle coming out of Minnesota Department of Education. Next is English language arts that we'll continue to invest in. And then we worked really hard on, we just had a third-party vendor come through and look through our entire facility. One of the work for all board members that are currently on the board, so we have some current board members here. Board Chairman Chad Barsness, and then you also have Director Angie Reichman are here in attendance. I know a couple of the other ones are either on the stage or watching remotely, but some of the work that will be done coming up is we did through the independent audit, because one of our goal areas is having a consistent, robust maintenance plan. We receive about $525,000 a year in maintenance monies. The current tab to fix everything in our schools is right around $14.5 million. So a lot of times you don't have, it isn't a matter of why isn't this working, because like tonight, it's not exactly warm in here because the air handling meter on the roof is backward on parts for about 13 months. So we patched it together to make it work. But when you come in for a concert, the good thing is it's usually too hot, not too cold, because there's a lot of people in here. But there's a lot of those ongoing maintenance issues we look at. And the boards work very hard at addressing these year to year. But as you move forward, we also have a evolving curriculum, so I mentioned we made that investment. Third, partnerships and communications. You'll see a lot of work throughout the county and our partners in RAID, which is our special ed cooperative that by law we need to be part of, and then CMETS, which provides some of our technology. And then our mentorship programs, because you can see some of our students working in mentorship programs in our community. And then we continue to work with an expanded our new website that was onboarded 4 years ago, and our continual presence in social media and across our community. And then finally, we have safe and welcoming. And so this is a teacher mentor workshop, so as we bring new staff in, because technically this is my 6th year, and we're about 19% turnover in staff, just with retirees and turnover. So we have a mentorship program. And then, making sure our grounds are safe. So this year we hired a full-time SRO. We don't have any particular instances why, but if you look across our nation, the children in our community are the most precious resource. We want to make sure they're safe from the time they are picked up on one of our buses or dropped off at one of our sites till the time they return home. So, and then a big key piece is we've been working with the area of mental health, providing some mental health support for all of our students and staff. So that's kind of the work we've been doing. That's kind of the board's work. I would share that the work that's really going to start pretty much after the first of the year for the 8 or the 7 full-time board members that are elected here in November. As early as January 2024, we are facing our tech levy coming to the end that will need to go back out to the community. And that raises about $253,000 a year. It goes to devices across our district, subscriptions to curriculum, access to our families on the internet, and a lot of our programming. At the same time, we can go out and renew our referendum. We have the lowest referendum in our area, about 65 miles. We're the lowest in our conference. And so while our fund balance is fine right now, a lot is the blues coming out of COVID. The current board that was sat the last 2 years kept in-person learning K-6. And so our test scores did not go down near as much as a lot of across our country and our state. But that being said, that put some money back in our coffers because we did not spend as much money on COVID mitigation as some districts have lost sometimes 30 or 40% of their students. So there'll be a piece of that, and then there'll also be the referendum that's tied to the bond. So there'll probably, there could be multiple questions, but that really will become board work. Where do you want that to be, and then how do we go out to our community to have it passed? Because it's not a matter of how you feel. You will not balance a budget as a school board without it. That's kind of the funny model that's come across Minnesota, is that every community has to go to their voters to supplement what what you get from the state for revenue. We're about 33% behind inflation rate. That's just the state of Minnesota schools. So if you went to Minnetonka, the other end, that's just like ours, their referendums are somewhere in there around the $3,200. Ours is just around $1,100. So you can see that sometimes 3 times as much money providing the same services. So that is something challenging for the future board after you come out of the first year, just so you know what you're getting yourself into. Without further ado, I just want to thank everyone for running again. And I want to, at this time, hand it over to our esteemed colleague, Mr. Ted Hill, who's going to facilitate tonight's our board forum. And I want to thank everyone who's watching online and everyone who came out tonight to watch. Thank you.
Thank you, Chip. Good evening. I am Ted Hill, and I'll be moderating this evening. I would like to thank our 8 board candidates for joining us this evening, and also like to welcome the live audience in the auditorium tonight, and those who are joining us through our live stream on our YouTube channel, Minnewaska Laker Live. All candidates running for a seat were sent an invitation to join us this evening, and they did accept that invitation. The purpose of the candidate forum is to allow Minnewaska area voters to hear the candidates discuss issues of importance to them in this election. This candidate forum will follow a nonpartisan, unbiased, and impartial format. And I've come prepared with some detention slips in case any of our candidates decide to step out of line this evening. Please silence your phones if you haven't already done so. And we'll start our first question with Amanda. Amanda, what attributes and behaviors are essential for school board members?
I feel as though a good school board member is someone who can collaborate well with others, work as a team, respecting others, and even understanding that there might be a difference of opinion, but what we're all here for is for the better of the students and the teachers and the community, and so I feel like that would contribute and be good attributes to being a good school board member.
Thank you, Randall.
I've seen a lot of districts, I've worked in a lot of districts, and one thing I wanted to say right away is Minnewaska should be proud. It's one of the best I've ever seen, and I'm happy to actually send my kids here. So I know Chip has a lot on his plate, and just wanted to say that right away, that not trying to be confrontational, just like to say that I believe that it's a good school. But taking that into account, we all know that inflation is going up. It's going to be tough, and there's going to be a lot of items that we have to start discussing that we're not going to like. I believe that what we need right now is strong leadership that's willing to take on the hard questions and have the conversations that nobody wants to have.
Zach?
Some of the attributes that I think are going to be most important for a school board member, just being able to communicate and relay from the community what people are hearing, and also what they would like to see in the direction that the school district should be heading.
Thank you, Will.
Yep. Also, I would say just being a good listener, listening to what people are telling you, what is happening in the district, or what we can do to make things better, make change. Work together with other people, and that's great.
Thank you. Ted?
I think it's pretty well covered already. The one thing I'd maybe add is just being accessible. Being accessible to voters, because it's important that they know that we're taking care of the dollars that they entrust us with.
Thank you, Mariah.
I agree, many of the attributes have already been very well covered, but having the desire to gain additional knowledge in areas where you may not be as well versed, while also bringing your diverse background to the table and being able to apply the things that you've possibly learned through your career or through your personal life onto the board to make for a positive experience as well.
Thank you. Lisa?
I agree.
And Justin?
I agree with
Go ahead.
everything everybody has said. Communication is key, and knowledge is also key to have respect of the community for which you are serving.
Thank you. Justin?
Yeah, I think everybody kind of hit on everything I had, like you called it. Yeah. No, the one thing that
I haven't heard is really just willing to spend the time and energy on the efforts of the board, because that's one thing we don't think about when we do this, is the amount of time and energy that it does take. So you just need to be willing to dig in, because there's lots of different committees and other things that pop up, and if you're not available and not willing to spend the time on it, then probably shouldn't be running.
Thank you. Randall, we'll start with the second question with you, please. What can be done to improve student achievement and ensure everyone who graduates from Minnewaska Area High School is ready for college and career?
Well, we usually try to lean on tech. Even the stats that came out today that said that, according to the government's numbers, the last 2 years, the math scores dropped 8% nationwide. So if tech was the answer, then we should, over the last 2 years, seen scores go up, or at least stay the same. When you start thinking about policies, you have to start thinking from a high level. And it's the skills that built our country are the same ones that we're going to need in the future. Whether it's college, career, farm, they all have the same common requirements. They need critical thinking, problem solving, collaboration, communication skills, and seeing success from failure. Building these skills, more than focusing on test scores, I think is what our future needs.
Zach?
One thing that I think that Minnewaska is already doing really good is obviously we're putting a good base with our students when they're coming up through K through 6. But then also once they get to the high school level, we are offering those opportunities that if somebody wants to be, go to college, that we can offer more college courses to them. If somebody wants to jump right into the workforce, we're offering the opportunity to go and basically work out in the real world and get that experience. I think just continuing to build on that base is going to make sure that Minnewaska is still successful with that.
Neil?
Yeah, I guess I kind of have to echo what Zach said. I guess I'm a big trades guy, so some of the programs that are going on in the community right now of being able to go out and work, doing internships or whatever at different businesses, I think that's huge. You get your foot in the door and probably get started maybe going somewhere and get a good job in the area here, so it's a good opportunity.
Thank you all. Ted?
A lot of it's been mentioned already, but a couple of other areas. For career ready, one thing that we were faced with when our first one graduated, she had done quite a bit of post-secondary stuff, but unbeknownst to us, depending upon what school you go to after graduating, it may or may not be used or valid. So that's one thing I think we can continue to do at the school, which we are doing, is make sure what we're teaching is accepted. And I know that there's a push from higher education to slow that down or eliminate it because it's a battle for dollars. But that's one thing that we can do for a college student, is ensure that what we're doing is relevant for them moving forward. Some of the kids that don't choose college, I think what we're doing right now, it's been alluded to by the two guys right before me. When we reach out to local businesses and get career things, intern things, there's a real successful story that's just developed in the last couple months with a student from Minnewaska at one of the local businesses, and those things need to be highlighted because they are good things that we can continue to do and enhance. So basically, just continue what we're doing and push a little harder on it.
Thank you, Ted. Lost Mariah?
I echo those comments as well. I think that Minnewaska has done a great job removing the stigma that traditional college coursework is the only way to be successful. Just continuing to enhance the opportunities for technical trade and educational experiences, and also providing those opportunities early on in a student's careers so that they know that those opportunities exist and can drive success in their lifetime.
Lisa?
I also agree with what the gentleman and women have said before me. However, talking to students that I work with and live in the community with, they would like to see a little bit more online where they could, if they miss school, they would like to have like a live stream or whatever, so they could hear that teacher do their lecture, or go back and hear that lecture if they missed something in class.
I ran the first time, I had all these ideas, and I learned pretty quickly in 4 years that the teachers, staff at Minnewaska, they're really good at what they do, and they know pretty much what it's gonna take to be successful and have these kids ready. So really our job as board members is to provide that support and resources that they need. It's less about us setting direction and more about listening to yourself and others and providing support.
Thank you, Justin. Amanda?
I would echo what everybody has said up here as well. As far as the more supports that we can get for these students to be successful, that's the goal of what we want for these kids when they walk out of this door, whether it's a four-year college, a technical college, career-wise. And like Justin said, I think it's how can we support these teachers to get them what they need for that to happen.
Thank you. Zach, we'll have you kick off the next question here. What are your thoughts on the school district's programs for special education students and for gifted students?
I think the school district is doing a good job right now at our lower levels where we have interventionists that can step in when we see that kids might need a little bit more help in certain areas. But then also, I feel like if we can start trying to break out those kids that are over excelling on their test scores and continue to push them further, it's going to only help benefit our community by being able to bring the kids that are falling behind up to speed, but then also being able to push those high achievers even a little bit harder than what we're doing right now.
Thank you. Will?
Yeah, kind of the same. As far as special education, I don't know a whole lot about that in the district currently, honestly. But as far as the gifted students, yeah, I mean, the opportunity, I think kids probably have an opportunity almost to come out of high school with a full TDA degree, if that's the route they're looking to go. That's a great opportunity. So it's a good spot to be when you're graduating from high school with TDA.
Thank you, Will. Ted?
I think continue what we're doing and advocate for ourselves. And then where I'm going with that advocating is, coming out of COVID, we did have a few students kind of not meet the marks or needed a little bit of help. And there was an intervention that we were kind of thinking of that would be nice to have during the school season, during the school year, because it's hard to get kids in during the summertime. But from the legislative standpoint, those dollars were only available for intervention during the summertime, which is, I feel, quite problematic because you're probably not going to reach that individual to come in during the summertime. But if those same dollars can be used during the year where we can augment. So basically, like we've been hearing, even with the last question, continuing what we're doing and helping the teachers be successful. So advocating for the kids. So that would be, on the special education side, and then on the gifted side, making sure kids are ready. One of the frustrating things that I have, for me is when, you hear a student that's graduating from Minnewaska, they're going to be, whatever, a doctor. And then, you see them a couple years later, and then they're in a totally different field. So the kids that are, maybe a little more gifted, can we help them more? Can we continue to guide them so they're getting in the right situation? Because it costs too much for college to make the wrong direction. So if we can do a few more things like that to help guide when the kids are coming through, I think that would be beneficial to all the students.
Thank you, Ted. Mariah?
Regarding the special education programs, I think the district has worked really hard to put qualified staff in place to manage those programs. I think with even more support, drive even more success. I think that goes to the families at home and the parents as well, and being strong partners in those programs. Regarding the Gifted Students Program, with 100% transparency, I'm not aware of a formal Gifted Student Program, but I do think that the district has focused an extreme amount of effort in the pre-K process and getting our students ready for school, and we can utilize that exposure to those students to possibly identify some of those.
Yeah, I really don't have much to add. We've all done such a, I know, it's like, I just want to say, advocating for these students in the special ed program is very important.
Thank you. Justin?
I would agree. I think that, one thing I was kind of amazed at was how good the special ed program was. Like, I didn't understand how much focus we had on that with WIN. And you have, wonderful teachers like Ms. Saint out here that have been here forever, and they really have devoted their lives to it. I think that we got to continue to do that and continue to build on that, but our special ed, we're in a pretty good spot. And I think as a board, we've done a good job of, allocating what they need. But as far as the gifted students, I think we could do a better job. I think there are programs for it, but I'd like to see more, like kind of what Mariah said, more maybe a formal program, and it'd be kind of fun to work on something like that.
Thank you, Justin. Amanda?
I think this district is very lucky to have the special education department that we have. K-12 all the way to WIN. I think we're very lucky to have these individuals in our district that do a great job. I would like to see possibly any more additional trainings or anything, other things that we can do to support these individuals for the work that they do. I'm also interested to learn more about the Level 3 program that we just started this year, if that's being utilized the best it can, or what other things could be done there. The gifted students, I remember back in elementary school having Dory Morris and Omnibus, which is kind of like if you're familiar with that, for the gifted student program. So like Mariah was saying, something more structured, and how do you point out these kids? What's the process of identifying those kids, and what do we need to do? Because I feel like they should be challenged when they come here. We don't want a child to feel like they're not getting the most potential out of their academics.
Thank you, Amanda. Randall?
I guess I'll have to agree there. The tough part, as soon as you start saying gifted or special ed, is you're finding kids and you're putting them in a specific area, when the fact is every single kid needs to work on their highest level. But I will say that, like I said, the school here does an excellent job, and they do an excellent job showing kids paths outside of just the career line, or the college path, giving them opportunities at local jobs, which is.
We'll give you the fourth question to start with. As a board member, where would you look to make budget cuts should the district find itself in a difficult financial situation? Are there any areas you would consider not cutting?
That is a tough one. Honestly, obviously, you wouldn't want to cut anything when it comes to education. You'd have to just look at the budget, I guess, and see, without knowing what the budget is currently, I guess you'd have to look through everything, and hopefully a person could just work together and maybe skim a little bit off of everything and not have to cut anything. It all depends on how bad of a situation you're in as well, I guess. So it's one of those things we have to figure it out as we go, I think.
Thank you, Will. Ted?
I'd agree with Will. I mean, you're going to have to decide when you get there. But for me, everything's on the table. There's so many different parameters. Depends upon how many kids you have per class. What is our enrollment? Which would bring itself into different sports. I mean, how many sports do we have? How many kids are going into them? So extracurriculars are on the table. Obviously, the biggest expense at school is wages. You could wipe out an entire budget and maybe not fix the problem. So, you can't get rid of the school lunch program entirely. That won't work. So, realistically, teachers' wages are on, or numbers of teachers. For me, everything's on the table. hopefully we don't get to that point. That's why we want to stay very progressive. That's why we want to stay very engaged and want to try to avoid that as long as we can. But if those days do come, everything's on the table for me.
Thank you, Ted. Mariah?
I would agree, this is probably one of the most difficult questions to answer, having managed a relatively large budget through my career, not knowing all of the different aspects that come into the budget and the adverse reactions that could potentially occur if you were to cut part of that budget. I think just using this seat to become very well informed and become a part of a good decision-making process where we use the knowledge to support those decisions and minimize the impact on the overall district, but still managing that budget. The one area that I think that right now we do have to look at the school district as a business. And as you can see right now, cutting wages within a business sets you up for a disaster. So I think it's important that we definitely invest in one of the biggest assets that we have. Our staff members and our educators hold the keys to the school. They also hold the keys to the success of our students, and they should be a focused investment.
Thank you, Mariah. Lisa?
I would have to agree with some of the gentlemen down there. Everything would be on the table. Everything would have to be looked at through a microscope to see where we could cut and still be efficient at what we do.
Thank you, Justin.
Yeah, thankfully, we're in a strong position with our fund balance right now. I mean, I know that can change pretty quickly. I mean, Brian and I have managed the same budget, but similar. But I've been in a situation where it's been very difficult, and you are looking at difficult decisions, and you kind of look at the nice to have things first that go before the need to have things, and you just do everything you can to not sacrifice the learning levels and the education level of the students.
Thank you, Justin. Amanda?
I believe that budget cuts are obviously not a topic that I don't think anybody up here would really like to tackle. I think we're in a good spot right now in the district. But if budget reductions have to be made, I think it's always important to reduce things that probably would add the least value to the educational experience of our students. So that can generally mean just reducing expenses first that are foremost and furthest from the classrooms.
Thank you, Amanda. Randall?
I'll agree with that, when it comes to downsizing, obviously people are the last thing that you want to cut. Extracurriculars would be looked at. My biggest fear would be as money gets tight, more and more people lean on technology as the end goal to solve everything. And it just hasn't shown to give the results that people are looking for. So that'd be my biggest fear, is pushing towards tech.
Thank you, Randall. Zach?
Obviously everyone's kind of said it, everything would have to be on the table to be looked at. Obviously the hope is that if we can be a little bit more forward thinking in our budgets as we see our enrollment possibly declining, see some things not getting renewed, hopefully be able to, not make any wage cuts, become as efficient as possible with what we have. And just through attrition, if we need to lower wages, maybe not replace some retirements or something along those lines as they come up. But like I said, everything's got to be on the table, because we only have a certain set budget each year.
Thank you, Zach. Ted, we'll give you the fifth question to kick off with. It is very likely that the district will be going to voters in the near future to renew a technology levy and renew our local operating referendum. Share your views and opinions on this, and what would your role as a board member be?
Well, we would continue doing what we are already doing, and that's, engaging with the district advisory committee. We just had a meeting. We did talk a little bit about the technology levy, and some of the members on that board wondered if what we were kind of talking were enough. Unfortunately, there are going to be a lot of headwinds moving forward. All taxes look to be not fun moving forward. As Chip already mentioned, we're at middle or low compared to a lot of our peers with our levies. I think some of those are very positive, that we've been able to function with those type of dollars, and I do believe that if we communicate well, if there is a need, school district. But we need to be very frugal with our dollars, we need to be responsible with our ask, and then we need to also echo a lot of our successes, what we've been doing, how we do stack up. I think all those things are important, and I'll pitch in, I'll help, do what we need to do, obviously as a board member, to keep the school in a strong financial position.
Thank you, Ted. Mariah?
I agree with everything that Ted said as well. You know, going to the public looking for funds, I don't think would ever be an easy situation to take on. But I think one of the important pieces is as decisions are made around the referendum, around the technology levy, is really making sure that all of the stakeholders are brought in from a thought process, so that approach is balanced. I did want to touch base on the renewal of the technology levy, and I've heard a number of people up here say this tonight, but making sure that we are promoting the use of up-to-date technology and practices, but not allowing it to reduce the life experiences of our children, and making sure that it's a very balanced approach.
Thank you, Mariah. Lisa?
Well, I agree with most everything everybody said. I'm not real up on this technology level or what levy or whatever is being talked about. But I do believe that our community, going forward with the referendum, they would step up to the plate for these children.
Thank you, Lisa. Justin?
Yeah, I mean, I think we absolutely have to renew it. I mean, we all know districts out there that people want to live in. They want to send their kids there because the school's great. We want to be one of those districts, right? I mean, for me, I'm trying to recruit employees into the area. The school's the biggest thing that people talk about, the school and hospital. You have to have an amazing school. So in order to do that, we're gonna need to renew this. And I mean, I see myself as one of the champions of it in any way I could be.
Thank you, Justin. Amanda?
Yeah, I agree with Justin as well. I think that it's always important for all of us as board members to collaborate as well and present a unified front when we're going out into the community and talking to these members about why this is important to our district. And like Justin said, the school attracts people to this community, and it's a beautiful school, and we need to keep that going. And I think it's always important to keep that communication open with the voters, just because I know not being blindsided by things, having open communication with those members so we get and gain their support.
Thank you, Amanda. Randall?
I think are you talking lighting technology? I think the community wants to know what they're getting their money for. I think they want something that's quantifiable that they can understand, they can go home being proud of. And I don't think that they want every 4 years to be asked for more money on technology because it's constantly out of date. And every time they do, big tech asks for a bigger chunk of money. So I think when we go to them, we have to have our numbers in line and make sure that we can go there without saying in 3 years, we're gonna want more money.
Thank you, Randall. Zach?
Yeah, I mean, obviously with the with levies that are out there right now, we're all experiencing it at home right now just with inflation. I mean, if all of a sudden we do not go out and be champions to get this renewed, we're going to be talking about the previous question. Where do we make cuts? How do we make those cuts? So we don't keep renewing these referendums. We're going to put ourselves behind the 8 ball on a lot of this stuff. And it's already been talked about is, I mean, we are already one of the lowest in our conference and against other peers for what we are asking for. So I think it just shows the current board and previous boards have done a very good job with making sure that they're fiscally responsible, you know, and just make sure that we're keeping up with where we need to go.
Thank you, Zach. Will?
The main question will probably be, is just renewing it going to be enough? I think that it's probably going to need to be expanded on, honestly, and Randall kind of alluded to, I think people are going to need to know what the money is going towards, but I think that it probably needs to be expanded as well. I think technology is an ever-changing device, and if you're not changing with it, you're falling behind. So we need to stay up to date.
Thank you, Will. Mariah, we'll give you the 6th question. What is the school's role in teaching children digital citizenship, wellness, and bullying.
So I kind of broke this up into two different options. I think you gave me the toughest question, Tim.
I apologize.
Definitely really important subjects. And when we look at, I broke it up kind of into two pieces. So digital citizenship and bullying. The bullying that we knew when I was in school is not what it is anymore. And the visibility of it is just not as present as it used to be, making it a much tougher area. For those two areas, I think they're about establishing positive interactions and being self-aware and taking ownership for one's actions. And our children start establishing those peer relationships really early on in their school years. So early attention and guidance can be provided during the school day. The school is allowed to take on a stronger role, with the parents acting as a supporting role from home. I think they're very critical pieces that align with other issues that can occur within our school system, mental health issues, suicide issues, and are very important for us to address really upfront. In part two, so wellness and sexual education, a family's personal perspective definitely comes into play more heavily with these two topics. While the partnership between the school and parents is essential, potentially exploring the opportunity for parent involvement in timing and curriculum could create a more cohesive, positive approach from home to school as well.
Thank you, Mariah. Lisa?
I agree with what she said. I don't even know I would even add more to that. But with that being said, the sexual education part, I believe that parents need to be involved and probably make that decision more so than the school. That's my opinion. And the bullying part, of course, bullying is a lot different than it used to be when I was going to school. But I think as the children or the students probably need to be held accountable for their actions as well. I feel that there's a lack of that maybe nowadays than it was when I was growing up. And parent involvement is so important these days.
Thank you, Lisa. Justin?
Yeah, I think Mariah kind of nailed it. The biggest thing that our job is to prepare kids to be well-educated, responsible adults, and these topics they're part of that. And I think it's a combination of it being taught at school and at home. That's the concise version.
Thank you, Justin. Amanda?
I think all of these topics are important, and I think as far as the district goes, being a part of the district in the past, I've done a very good job in working with families and with students about this. I like during Laker time, they have some social emotional learning that happens, I believe, one of the days of the week. And I just feel like with Mariah, what she said too about digital citizenship and bullying, it's a prevalent thing in the district, and it's I would like to see it somehow decrease, and I don't know if that's less phone time during the day. I know that's the goal, is to try to not have kids be on their phones during the day, but as we all know, that isn't the case all the time. But I have seen a big distinction between bullying and being on their phones, and it's sad to see what kids go through with that.
Thank you, Amanda. Randall?
All of these topics are difficult to talk about, and taken one by one, each of them would be difficult to even define. Digital citizenship, the one that I know best, a little bit about my background. I'm an electrical engineer and a computer science engineer. I have 2 double masters, 20 years in the automation space, and I founded my own tech company in 2017. Every company we're talking about from the digital space I've personally dealt with and worked with, so I know them intimately from the technical side. So for me to define what the word digital censorship was, I could spend hours doing it and it would be completely pointless. It would be just a political exercise. But the one thing that all of these things do have in common is not one of them actually, again, to reduce these effects on our children in school so they can get back to what's important.
Thank you, Randall. Zach?
So I guess my thought on it too is, it needs to be a partnership between, both parents and the school district and teachers, being able to relay as far as what's going on. Obviously, nobody can ever see everything that is going on. One thing that, obviously I'd like to see is, basically give some more power back to, the teachers and administrators by being able to, somehow discipline students when, something does happen. I do feel like it's too easy these days to be a bully in school, where there are no consequences. You might lose your phone for a day. I just don't feel like we have the same amount of consequences that we did, when we were younger, and I would like to see us try to get back to something more.
Thank you, Zach. Will?
Pretty much everybody else already hit the nail on the head. It's just a collaboration between parents and teachers. Different families are gonna have, essentially different, outlooks on some of these items than what school might have, and I think that, those would be some areas where eventually the school would step back and the parents would, do some parenting.
Thank you, Will. Ted?
Yeah, I think the best term that popped out here tonight was collaboration between families and the school. And one thing that I maybe could highlight that I think was quite positive, and it happened a little bit more in the extracurricular world, where a lot of new coaches, a new athletic director, and the school is taking some time before every season starts to kind of have a expectation meeting, if you will. And I think that kind of sets the tone, even if kids may or may not be in extracurricular activities. It just kind of sets the tone of maybe how things could be, and we hope that families would engage with that and just bring it down a notch a little bit, and then that gets into the bullying and into the family stuff. So I think the group did a good answer on that.
Thank you, Ted. Lisa, we'll let you kick this one off. Describe your role on the board as a community member who is serving in a policy governance capacity while staff manages the operations. Sure. Describe your role on the board as a community member who is serving in a policy or governance capacity while staff manages operations.
Well, I think as a board member, we have to go by the policies and the recommendations that are set forth. That's really all that I can say about that. We have to follow by the guidelines and the policies that are set forth for us.
Thank you, Lisa. Justin?
Yeah, I think I hit on it earlier that really our role is to collaborate with the teachers and staff and provide them the resources they need, but also to kind of resonate the opinions and values of our community.
Thank you, Justin. Amanda?
Like Justin said too, I think it's working together and collaborating all together. We're a team, and one person can't do it all. We have to be on a solid front with each other, and as far as community concerns, just being an open listener for those as well and address them, or sometimes it's not our job to address some certain issues, so it's just delegating those off to the appropriate people that might be able to better address that.
Thank you, Amanda. Randall?
I think everybody's going to say it, collaboration between the community and the school. I mean, it's an excellent school, they do a great job. Just making sure we stay out of their way, and that any politics that would come from Minneapolis doesn't affect our school, and making sure that parents understand that it is a great school.
Thank you, Randall. Zach?
So it was kind of touched on already as well with, just making sure that we're basically relaying what we're hearing from our community, providing those values to the school district to allow them to know, hey, this is the direction that our community would like to go with the school district, and then give everybody the means and how we can get there.
Thank you, Zach. Will?
Yeah, I really don't have much to say. Everybody else did it pretty well. I can say collaboration again.
Okay, well, Ted?
Yeah, the only thing I would add would be advocate, and that would be, you know, at St. Paul. I mean, I do believe that that is a role of the school board to, you know, everything coming from St. Paul isn't right. It is not all correct. There's a lot of good ideas from out here that need to get pushed back, and everybody would be better for it. So I think that's the one thing that I would add to what's already been said.
Thank you, Ted. Mariah?
The one thing that I would add is just, as a board member, making sure that we're empowering the staff to execute the plan and stepping back, not micromanaging these, you know, wonderful experts and subject matter experts that we are fortunate enough to have as a part of our district, but rather just supporting them and allowing them to do what they do best.
Thank you, Mariah. Justin, I promised you the last question so you can get started. Give us an elevator pitch as to why the voters should support your candidacy.
Oh, man, I mean, I just answered the question.
Do your best. Do
I
your
think
best. Consider it a
I mean, honestly, I
assignment.
think it is that because the school is so important to the community, and I'm so vested in the community, and having a large company here with a lot of employees, and just, I want the best for this area, and I think the only way for that to happen is to have the best school district. And I think I can help.
Thank you. Amanda, elevator pitch. Why should voters support your candidacy?
I think in the past, as being a member of the district board, definitely would involve collaboration with community members, with teachers, and just listening, be a listening ear, because sometimes that's what people want to do. They want to feel validated, and they want to feel heard, and I'm willing to do that, and I'm willing to help any way I can as being one member of the school board. You can't do it all alone. This is why I think being part of a good team and working together, and realizing that you're going to have differences and not everybody's going to agree. But the most important thing is agreeing that what is best and what is decided is what's best for the kids, because that's why we're here.
Thank you, Amanda. Randall, elevator pitch of why voters should support your candidacy.
Years ago, I worked in a lot of schools doing maintenance and controls work, working in a lot of universities. I understand the challenges besides just teaching our kids this is a facility. There's a lot that goes into it. So I understand where Chip is coming from when he says he has $500,000. That doesn't go very far, especially with a lot of the older items that are here. So I truly understand that cost. And then combine that with what I've been doing for the last 20 years on the tech side. Technology is valuable, but it has to be focused and it has to be utilized, and there has to be a lot of metrics around it in order to get the real value out of it. And I think that's where my experience comes in.
Thank you, Randall. Zach, elevator pitch. Why voters should support your candidacy.
I think everybody up here on the table kind of agree that we're all huge advocates for the school district. Our kids would not still be in here if we didn't believe in it. You know, the reason why somebody should vote for me is just, you know, I want to make sure we continue going down that same path. I think my career has kind of led me to a point where I can be beneficial to a school district and make sure we continue on the same path.
Thank you, Zach. Will, quick elevator pitch of why voters should support your candidacy.
Yeah, it's been already said, but I think everybody up here is up here for the same reason. Kids are the most important thing in education. And it's been alluded to that there's a possibility of, there could be some tough decisions that need to be made at some point. And I'm willing to put in the work and make the hard decisions that need to be made. So.
Thank you, Will. Ted, elevator pitch. Why should the voters support your candidacy?
If we don't keep a strong school district, it gets really tough to keep our community numbers together. You know, with that being said, I'll bring a conservative fiscal and social mind to the board, and I would appreciate anybody's vote.
Thank you, Ted. Mariah.
I really want to be a Laker, and they don't allow open enrollment for 42-year-olds. So I would really love to be a member of the board. But in all seriousness, when I moved back back to this community 16 years ago and decided, my husband and I decided this was where we were going to raise our family. The school was a really big piece of that. And I would love to be able to use the experiences that I gained in my career. I have a very strong background in operations and efficiency and leading people, along with a background of having the responsibility of speaking for a large number of people and representing their seat at the table. So I love the opportunity to be able to utilize those experiences as a part of the Minnewaska district.
Thank you, Mariah. Lisa?
Well, as a grandmother that has 7 grandchildren, half of them going here, as well as my children going here, I would like to bring to the table a fresh perspective of new ideas, critical thinking, and just want to involve the students and the parents that they deserve.
Thank you. Well, guys, that's all I have for the evening. I'd like to thank all 8 of you for giving well thought out, well educated answers. I wish you the best of luck on Election Day. And thank you guys for attending today, and thank you guys online. Have a good evening.